is the Children Online Privacy Protection Act. So the government has passed this, and we have to document it. So that's why I came up with a quiz. And actually, I love to go over that quiz with all of you, because then it's a time where I can go over things if you miss something, because I have to move very rapidly. There's a lot of stuff that I'm going to try to cover today. So part of it's the safety, privacy thing, and then part of it, and I took a class 3 years ago on web literacy. Why might web literacy be important for all of you?
So you know how to work the web.
Yes, so you know how to work the web. And do you think it's important for your futures about how well you can maneuver and find information, good information, on the open web as far as your future jobs and careers? Do you think it is? It is very, very much so. And I just read an article this week about the importance for all of you knowing the web literacy. So it's kind of cool. And I totally always update this, so this isn't 3 years old. I gave it to Blanchard's classes and got recommendations, and at the end of your quiz I'll ask you for that. And with the quiz you can work with a partner, because I always think 2 brains are better than 1. But anyway, I got suggestions, and I added a lot more on the cyberbullying part, because they thought I barely covered it, and they said I should add. So it's kind of an ongoing, changing thing. But I've taken 2 classes on web literacy, and I learned a ton, and so I want to share that information with you as well. So anyway, this is not something I want you to answer. How web smart are you? It's something I just want you to think about. How web literate and smart are you? Internet safety.
Can you explain to me what literacy means?
Thank you. Okay, Jason kind of answered it in that he said how well you can get around on the open web. Okay? Thank you for asking. Please comment if you have heard of something, if you have a story to share, if you have anything to add. As I say, this has been kind of an ongoing, changing thing. I have a lot of things I've added as a result of the kids and what they've had. So what do you know about internet safety?
Okay.
What have you been cautioned about? What have you guys been cautioned about on the open internet?
Like spelling
Not to give out your
spelling errors
information.
in the writing and stuff like that.
And say it
And,
again.
Spelling errors and the descriptions and stuff.
Okay, okay. So errors and stuff on the open internet. What else? Viruses, yes. We're going to talk about that. Anything else that you can think about? Okay.
Putting out personal information.
Personal information. And why not give out personal information on the open web?
Because everybody has access to this one.
Okay. A lot of people have access to it. Why else? Okay. We'll kind of talk about some of these things. So how do you keep safe on the open internet? You kind of talked about that, not give out personal information. What's that? Yeah, don't be dumb and don't be smart, and be smart. Yes, I about said it opposite. Okay, so identity theft, and that's the reason why you don't want to give out your personal information. So, even have you paid attention to wireless networks? If you're on a secured, say if you're at McDonald's, and you're wanting to use your cell phone or your smartphone or your computer. A lot of people take their computers to McDonald's. Any wireless network, to Starbucks or whatever, have you paid attention? Or even at hotels, is it secured? Because if that wireless network is not secured, what can happen with the guy sitting next to you? What can he do to you with your information? He can hack into your information if it's not a secured wireless network. So pay attention when you're around and about. And that's just something I came up with not too long ago, because my son was telling me how easy it is to hack into other people's computers. My older son, not Bryce. My older son. Okay, so how does that happen? Password advice. Write this down and really think about this. And it's not so much for school accounts. I'm not telling you this so much for school accounts. And part of your note-taking is part of your grade on this quiz. I'm going to attach your notes. because you are as good as your notes, because I tell you what, it's easy to fall asleep, your mind wander, and I remember even in high school and college, a lot of times I just took notes to stay focused, because it's really easy. This is kind of a lengthy presentation, and so it'll kind of keep you with me. But your notes, you're as good as your notes on all this, because it'll be hard to remember. All this stuff are going on. The longer the password, the better. And I just read it a week ago that a guy said you need a sentence with commas and periods, and I'm talking about really important stuff like your bank account information, whatever else that you don't want anybody to be able to hack into. A sentence. So I lived and grew up in Mesa, Arizona throughout my childhood. So something long that makes sense to me, that you won't forget, but nobody else can hack into. And I'm guilty of this, and my passwords are short right now. Okay? So anyway, think about that, and even Ron and I, our passwords to our bank account, they're not that long, and they probably can be fairly easily hacked into.
Don't be telling them
Well, I thought about it because ours is not that long. Okay, so anyway, password advice. Length, and it means to you, but not anybody else. And that has happened a lot. So, give out all that information. Okay, we kind of talked about that. Internet dating, you may think, well, what does this really matter to us? When I was presenting to Blanchard's classes last week, a girl in 5th period, her cousin got involved with a predator online. He goes to YO Tech here in Wyoming. He's in big trouble because she's a minor and she got involved. So, you think, that doesn't really matter to us, but it does. And are they who they say they are? And Kylie brought that up 1st period. She goes, you don't know who is who on the open internet. They may say there's somebody, they post a picture, but it may not be them at all. And that's the other reason, guys, not to give out your personal information. There's a lot of predators looking for victims out there. And it's a lot more scarier because of the open internet, because they have more access to all of your information. And even Google yourself. That's what they suggested in this class. And I imagine most of you guys have. But anyway, so the dangers of internet dating. And then another reason is the viruses and Trojan horses. Now viruses, the difference between a virus and a Trojan horse, anybody know?
A Trojan horse completely wipes out your computer.
It wipes out your computer, and a virus actually wipes out a bunch. It spreads. You've heard about these worms and these viruses, in our country and all over the world. But what do you not want to do so you open up your computer to a virus or a Trojan horse? Josh, do you have any ideas what not to do? On your email, what do you not want to do? Yes, open up random messages. You don't recognize who they are and where it's come from. And we have all gotten those. You have to actually open it up, though, in order for that to attack your computer. Believe it or not, I have a friend, and she uses the computer all the time. Her total computer got wiped out a week ago from something she accessed. Gone. And had to pay over, I think it's like $180 to get her hard drive redone. She's lost a lot of information. I don't think she has an external hard drive. Okay? So don't open up. What about the pop-ups? What about pop-ups? You have one. Anybody been really tempted to do that, or anybody done that? I actually did do something similar to that. It totally wiped out my email. I got 100 emails per day. I had to reset up another email account. It said, you can win this if you do this survey. The survey took really a long time, and then it flooded my email. Okay, so the pop-ups. And some of the kids, the freshmen, brought that up. Anybody done that? Flooded their email? None of you guys are as stupid as I am. This is a good thing. This is a good thing. Okay, so don't open links, download music from any untrusted source. Really got to pay attention. Is there privacy? Jesse, is there online privacy?
Yeah,
There's that little switch you hit.
But is there?
No, not
Is
really.
there privacy today anymore?
No.
No. Your footprints, your digital footprints are forever there. On your Facebook, on your phones, when there's been crimes committed, they will see where your cell phone is at that point in time. They've done this. The policemen have tracked your cell phone. Say if it's a crime committed and they suspect you, they can track your cell phone to where you were because of the cell towers and stuff. And that can be evidence. They use that as evidence. There's a big fight going on because of privacy, but that is happening. Okay? Any questions about that? And even Twitter. Twitter. And this is becoming more popular. Yes, Braxton?
I heard on the news that
Are you on
you know
Twitter?
how, like,
Shh.
they're they're real ads for companies, but they take the memory from what you've been searching on Google for products, and they
Yeah.
put those ads on the side of the thing,
Yeah.
relating to what you searched.
Right, and same on Amazon, and you're followed on all those different sites of where you're members, because they're following and seeing what you buy, what you're interested in, and that's why I used to have kids do Gmail accounts, but Google started doing that, following you guys all over the net, and then giving that information to buyers and sellers, and so I'm really against that, but yeah, that goes on. I'm glad you brought that up. And Twitter, there are now lawsuits. There's a couple in the courts right now for, and I can't remember specifics, but I've seen it in the news, where somebody spoke really harshly and badly about somebody else. Well, that person is suing that person for defamation. It's called defamation of character, of things that they say are not true. So even stuff you post on Twitter may come back to haunt you, okay? On Facebook, employers are hiring people to check what you've put on Facebook. And do you think they can get into your guys' accounts, even though you've put up privacy settings? These guys are really good at computers, and they do. They're able to get in and see. So don't ever post anything you would. They always say what your mom, if your mom would see it, what she would say, or anything you would not want. Yesenia, thank you.
I heard that some girl, she tweeted something about President Obama, saying someone should assassinate him, and then they got all over that and investigated her and all
Yes,
that.
the FBI, I'm sure, came knocking on her door. And we had an incident in Gillette, it's now been a few years ago, where a boy on the internet, and I think it was during school, he threatened President Obama. And they went to his door, and he got in really big trouble. He probably went to jail. I don't know. He's a minor, and I can't remember what happened. But it was this whole huge thing. Thanks for bringing that up. Yes. Anyway, only trusted sources. Unsafe. Write these down. These are the ones that come through the viruses. I just found this out this week. And the Trojan horses come through these. These are unsafe. .exe, .doc, and .docx. That's where they put that information. So those are the file extensions to look for. Everybody got that down, Levi?
Actually, exe is used for just about everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
And .doc and .docx are usually text documents.
Yes, yes. But that is, I can't remember, it was an article I found this week. I actually always do a lot of research prior to coming and presenting again, and I found that, so. Cyberbullying, what is it? Oops, what is it? Let's see, who can I pick on? Austin, what's cyberbullying?
Bullying on the web.
Okay, but what exactly, more specifics? What is done on the web? What's that?
Threats.
Okay, threats, harassment, intimidation, isolation. Anytime you're trying to humiliate, intimidate, those are all definitions of cyberbullying. It can be once, it can be over an extended period of time. But and even if you don't view it as that, If the victim does, it is cyberbullying. What's happened in the United States as a result of cyberbullying? Suicides, yep. A girl in California killed herself. A girl in Florida, do you remember what happened and what's gone on with that? And how old was the girl? Angie, did you
She
remember?
was like 14.
Yeah, I actually think she was 13, but she was young. 13 or 14, what happened? Did you ever read or hear?
Well, she was being harassed on the internet by 3 girls that went to her school, and when they confiscated the bullies' computers, they found things like how many pills would it take to kill someone and different things, and so they were debating whether to charge them with premeditated murder or just for the harassment.
And they're not charging the kids because they're minors. Guess who they're charging? The parents. In Florida, they are charging those parents. Okay? So that's the first time that I've ever seen anything where the parents are actually being charged with any crime like that, with her suicide. As she jumped off of a building. What's that?
Oh, never mind. Just kidding. Never mind.
Okay. So victims are generally vulnerable. They're isolated. A lot of times the victims don't even follow our social norms. And I read about just less than a week ago, girls picking on another girl, and she didn't have any friends, and they befriended her. And then they got her to open up, give up all this personal information, and guess where they put it? On the open web. So when you look at that, this stuff is going on and very prevalent. And they have a hard time defending themselves. Definition, so it's overt, physical, or it can be emotional. The guys, it's more in the fighting, the belittling and all that. The girls, it's more emotional, isolation, gossip, posting pictures, videos, etc. And I say, if you know of this going on, tell somebody so that it can be stopped. Because I read this book, and it was a heart-rending book. It's called Weak Fish, about a boy, and he was bullied all throughout school, except in one school he was safe. And now he's a cop, actually, and he speaks all over the country on bullying. But he said in the one school he was safe. A kid came up to him, started bullying him and harassing him. 2 boys, walked up and told the bully, "You can't do that," and leave him alone. And he was forever safe in that school. But it was one school out of about 7 schools he went in. So you can make a difference. And we don't want suicides in Worland, Wyoming, even though sadly enough, we have had a couple here. Maybe not with the cyberbullying stuff, but with the bullying. Okay? One kid can make a difference. Any questions, comments about any of that? You guys are taking great notes. Okay, so anyway, behavior hurts or harms them, it's bullying. So safety, don't reveal anything, we talked about that. Never share your email password. And kids, you guys are sometimes bad about that, sharing your even locker combination, your password, whatever. Photo or personal data, and that's because they can stalk you. The predators, and we kind of talked about that a little bit, they can find you and harass or stalk you or steal your identity. And also not sharing too many personal details, because then you can also be bullied. Don't do or say anything online you wouldn't do or say in person. And that's the danger, isn't it? Is you get mad at somebody, pissed off or whatever, and then you just rant and rave. And I've seen it on Facebook, and I'm sure on Twitter and all that it goes on. But anyway, somebody can take your stuff and pretend to be you, and even you guys steal each other's phones periodically. I've seen that go on. Change your passwords if you have to. And how do you make your password safe? Sean? How to make your password safe? Make them really long. What did you guys say? What did you say? I didn't hear.
Oh, she just said the same thing, but she's like, oh, and I'm not Sean.
Oh, okay. Cyberbullying. Okay. So if you know if it's happening, document it. Talk to somebody. Oops. to get ideas of how it can be stopped and try to help them either take steps or tell somebody who can help. Most of the time, they won't ever even tell their parents. They feel so isolated, so alone. And social media has made it tons worse. Gaming, online, gaming. And I just read this article over a week ago that because it's online, guess what's happening now? Doesn't have to do with the bullying stuff that I know of. Any ideas for you guys who game? Do you have any ideas what might be going on online now with the gaming?
People being stupid.
Yeah, people are stupid, yeah. That's not what I read. Interestingly enough, and this is creepy, they are tracking your information. They have somebody behind those games watching when you click, why you click, and why are they doing that? To get you what? To buy stuff and hooked, addicted. And we've had at least 2 or 3 kids leave this high school, flunk out of college within the first semester, which is a lot of money to throw down the drain, but flunk out because they were addicted to games. They want you to not stop playing those games. They're studying you. It's a behavioral science. Isn't that kind of creepy to think when you're playing, somebody is back watching, back behind, analyzing that data? Oh, and they call it the fun pain or the pinch so that you won't stop. So that's what's going on with gaming now. Kind of interesting. My cousin writes games. Did you guys get that information? Ready to go on? Okay. This one then, we're switching gears now from the safety stuff to researching on the open internet. Why research? Do you think before you just start getting online on the computer when you're trying to find the information you need? And most of us don't, and so I'm going to try to get you to think a little bit differently about the research on the open net. Thinking outside the search box. Did you have something? Did you want to share?
No.
Okay, so refine your search, and I'm going to give you ways to refine it. So you can more likely get what you want. Because how many hits do we get online? Braxton, how many hits do you usually get?
Like when you Google search?
Yep.
A lot.
A million. You get a million or more. Okay, evaluate. Do you even look at the information that you are using? And on the open web, is there an editor? Is there somebody looking over that information posted on the open internet to see, is it correct? Is anybody doing that? No, there's not. So it's different than published sources where somebody has to edit, go through, and check the accuracy and all of that. Nobody's doing that. This is why you got to do it. Search literacy is examining and best avenues to get there and evaluate what you have found. Write those down. So examining, best avenues, evaluating what you have found. And on the open internet, you should check your sources 3 times. Ellen Hopkins, who's kind of a very popular author, she wrote Crank, said she could not believe how much incorrect information on the open web is out there about her. So you get to a website and use all that information, it may or may not be true. It's inquiry. Research is actually inquiry. It's a question, questioning, inquiring, trying to find out information. An inquiring mind. Are you being an inquiring mind when you're researching? Any questions so far? Questions? Okay, advanced searching. These what you need to write down and they can help you. Who uses advanced? Anybody using any advanced searching techniques that you can think of? Some of these you probably use that I'm going to go over. Okay, so they have an advanced searching box on the open internet. So you can actually do advanced searching. Okay? Search by date. You can eliminate certain dates or you can just search by date. The Boolean is really important. Write down and, or, and not. That is advanced searching. Okay, now tell me, and who am I going to pick on? Brett. I'm going to pick on Brett. Okay, so if I'm searching and I do cancer and leukemia, cancer or leukemia, and cancer not leukemia, those are using the advanced searching words, which one is going to give me the most information? Well, just guess.
Cancer and leukemia.
That's what we think. We think, oh, cancer and should be more. But what were you going to say, Jess?
Would not cancer, not leukemia.
Okay, I'm going to show you. It's or. It's or. But our minds think and should be more. And I even think that. Okay, but I'm going to show you. Can you guys see this, or do I need to make it bigger? Can you all see this? Your eyes good enough? Okay, so you have cancer and leukemia. And is the open internet subject or keyword searches? Keywords. So these are keyword searches. So you have cancer and leukemia. This is the part that has both of those words. Both of them have to be in there. So actually it's smaller than the or. And if you do cancer or leukemia, what is it then? Everything. Okay, it's the whole thing. If you do cancer not leukemia, which part is it then? Just this. Okay, so that's a way to narrow or expand. And say if you're searching and you don't want leukemia, you're searching cancer and you get a whole bunch of leukemia, just take it out. Go not. Cancer, not leukemia. On the advanced searching box on the open internet. Questions about that? Okay, now phrases. Who use parentheses or quotations to keep words together? So if you're searching global warming, so it doesn't separate out those words. Because that's how the open internet searches, it's keywords. So phrases are awesome. You can search by extension. .edu is what, Jess?
Education.
Education.gov is what, Jess? Government. Okay, so you can just search by type. Can you believe everything you find in the education extension? No. You say no, and I'll show you a little bit later why you cannot. You can take types out. So if you take .com out, Levi, what types are you taking out?
All the commercial sites.
You might want to do that. It'll take out all the buying and selling from your searches. And Matt Wilson gave me this. So you just put in minus site, S-I-T-E, :.com. Takes out everything commercial from your search. So that would be really good, because unless you're trying to buy and sell, on the open internet. So Google Scholar is advanced searching. Write it down, Google Scholar. And there's an internet public library, it's IPL.org. And Destiny Quest has pre-selected websites for you. That's our card catalog. Destiny Quest is advanced searching. And one other thing that I came in last time to talk to you about, what is advanced searching? The databases. And I forgot about that, and I'm going to have to add those. Add them to the list, but somebody brought that up, I think, in first period. Any questions about that? Did you guys get those all down? Advanced searching techniques. Think critically. Anyone can write anything. There was a little he probably wasn't that little, a 17-year-old boy put himself up as a psychiatrist on the open web. People wrote to him from all over the world getting advice. Guess who found him out? This is a true story. Guess who found him out? His mom. His mom. And she was horrified that her 17-year-old kid. That's what I'm talking about. Anybody can write anything. So critically looking at the information you get. And then somebody asked, well, was he selling it? And no, he wasn't. If he was actually getting money, then what is that?
That's called illegal.
That's called an illegal, and it's a crime. And so it's way more serious. Validate. Why is the information there? Validate the information. Is it real? What is there? What information is there? Who's the author? Why take the author seriously? What if there isn't an author? Should you trust that information? And then anybody can pretend to be anything. And there have been people caught and got fined and all sorts of things for putting wrong stuff on the open internet. Who's the publisher? What's the date? How long ago? Does the date matter? Has the site ever been updated? Maybe it's quite old. Is there a fiction and non-fiction section of the open internet, Josh? Is there? How can you tell what's real and not? What, Whitney? You can't. There is not a fiction and a non-fiction section like there is in the library. There's not. That's why you guys have to critically evaluate the information, as Whitney was saying. Now, are the databases, is that a non-fiction? Those are actually, that part, even though it's not really on the open internet, but you can access it on the open internet, is non-fiction. Okay? But overall, no, there's not a different section. Ranking of search engines, did you guys know about that? That when you get a search, say if you do global warming and the top ones, that companies, corporations, businesses are buying and putting, whoever bids the highest for those keywords is why they're in the top searches. Did you guys know that? Huh? Okay, so in the last election, global warming was, a lot of people were searching global warming. This organization paid the highest. So theirs was probably in the top. It probably still is, actually, today. But who is API? And they give scholarships to you seniors every year, this organization. Anybody know who API is? Huh? Nobody? It's American Petroleum Institute. And you will see at graduation when you have scholarship night, they will give good scholarships. I know Brian got one. I don't know if it was for $300 or $500. Anyway, American Petroleum Institute, why would they care what you read about global warming enough to pay a lot for every time you click? They have to pay information. Why?
Buying their stuff. Like, people think that global warming is really bad, then they might care about it too much and stop buying petroleum stuff.
Yeah. And is API's information going to be biased for global warming? The information you access. Because they are part of that. Oil, coal, all of that supposedly causes global warming. Okay, does that make sense? So that's another reason why you really have to pay attention to what you get. And we all go in there and get the top searches.
Google has changed that recently. Now they put everything that was paid to be near the top in a little sponsored section.
Oh, okay.
And everything else is based off how often it searches.
Okay.
It's been searched.
So the top is still the same, but they show sponsorships.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it down below. So if you want non-biased, it would probably be best if you keep on. Thanks, Levi. I don't have to thank you for that information. I did not see that. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. Questions to ask then. Why is it on the web? Is it there to inform, give facts, give data? Write these down, guys, because I'm going to collect your notes. Your notes are as good as you. And it will help keep you focused, and I'm going to attach them, and it's worth 10 of the 30 points of this, so make sure and take good notes. Is it there to explain or persuade? Is it to sell, entice, share, disclose? What is the tone of the page? And I gave this example, my husband looked it up, and it's still there, but there's a site, and it's called Tree Octopuses in Oregon or something. And I brought this site up to Mr. Blanchard's kids, and a kid from Ten Sleep said that some of the kids use that information. It's a total hoax, the entire site. And they're curious how many kids are accessing it and using it, and kids have. Believe it, that there's a tree octopus in Oregon. So is it exaggerated, overblown? It's easy for all of us to be fooled. Very easy. Did you guys get that? Sticking with me? Got it. News sources. We had a discussion this morning. Go ahead. Ron? What we were talking about this morning?
Just on the news stuff, you have to be careful about when you read it, is it news or is it somebody's opinion of the news? And that's getting harder and harder to determine, even with going to the New York Times. It used to be known as it was the newspaper of record in this country, because you could trust on the front page it was going to be news. But as political as this country's gotten, even the reporters now, sometimes the way they write it, they're manipulating you to think the way they do. So you got to be very, very careful about what you believe. I mean, it's hard to digest the facts.
And that's why in college they don't let you use the open internet for your resources anymore. Al Jazeera is the only truly, and I got this from my web literacy class, non-biased news source in the world, because it's not tied to a government and it's not tied to a political party. I love BBC because it's world news. It's an awesome source, I think, even though periodically there's bias in the Chicago Tribune and New York Times. So he listed Alan November, who gave me this, who has this online web literacy class, actually gives these as the best. But as my husband was saying, many viewpoints, editorials are found. Can you trust a blog? Do you want to use a blog for your research? No. And I've seen students do that, actually. And why are our news sources biased? What are they tied into? MSNBC, Fox News. What are they tied into? Anybody know? Not so much the government, but what? Political parties. Political parties, definitely. Okay? So you have to be careful about that. Any questions on that? 5 W's. Write them down. Who, what, when, where, why. Can you answer these questions on the open internet? And how long do we have? 10? Okay. Can you answer all these questions? We're going to buzz. Does it have a bibliography? Are they giving you places where they went? And where's the bibliography found? Yesenia, where's the bibliography when you turn in a paper? Where's the bibliography? End. Okay, so you have to look. Does it have a bibliography? Have they cited other sources that they've used? And Mrs. Bishop asked me to add this, plagiarism. If you cut and paste parts of somebody else's, if you use their ideas, their thoughts, if you forget to quote, there's a lot more ways to plagiarize than just not use the quotation marks. Okay? And that's rampant. And if you're in college, if you plagiarize, what happens? Anybody know? You get kicked out of school. It went later on, and this has happened. Somebody took and I can't remember. I wish I could, but somebody took a man, and he's pretty famous, took somebody else's information and used it in his speech. He is in big trouble. And plus, he also then, how is his character? How does that look on him as a person? That he took information and didn't give the other person credit. So there is going to be a lawsuit, but then his character is also defamed. You're as good as your research. You are as good as your research. Whatever you do put down is a reflection on you. So credible, is print, is online stuff as credible as print? No, it's not. It's not, guys. So it's not the same degree of proof. Is the site good for some things or another? URL. Have you looked at the URL? Write this down. It has the domain name. Is a URL. So in this one, the URL, the domain name is Northwestern. Okay, the extension then is what? Do you know what the extension is on that? Northwestern .gov or whatever. Yes. Write this down, history of a website. You can locate what the history is, and this is one way to validate a website. Check out the history. It's www.archive.org. Can you always find the history of a website? No, because there was a website that was put online during our last election. It was about Newt Gingrich. And they have tried to figure out who put it because it was really awful, said a lot of horrible, awful things. Have they ever found out who sponsored? No, because there's so many layers of, with people with money, they don't even know. Yeah, Braxton?
I've had a website, like, when I ordered indoor soccer shoes one time, I ordered them and there was like a little lock and said it was secure website and stuff, and like I never got a confirmation from them, but they did take the $70 from my bank account.
But you never got the
Yeah,
shoes.
and there was a website that I asked Mr. Martinson about, and like you can check it, and like it wasn't on there, and then we flagged it as like an inappropriate website.
I'll have to ask, or you get that information and I'll include that in there.
Because there's a website where you can report other websites for having like wrong information on them.
Good, okay. Yeah, I need to get a hold of that because I'll add that as part of the presentation. Good point. So the extension or domain name, and I told you that these ones, owned by anybody, write them down. .com, .org, .net. Can you trust that information? It can be owned by anybody, any organization, whatever, .com, .net, .org. And then we were talking about the personal page on the EDU. These are things to look out for. If there are names on it, a personal name, or a tilde sign, or the percentage sign, those three things are to look for, because within universities, different people publish, and they may publish information about biases they have or whatever, so it's not necessarily coming from the university. And there was a big hullabaloo in Boulder quite a number of years ago now, I think it was like at least 4 years ago, where a professor wrote some horrible, horrible things on Boulder's website, but he was publishing it personally. So those are things to look for. Okay, so just because it's education doesn't mean it's necessarily good or non-biased. Common extension types, and you don't need to write these down. This is just for your information. So you can search if you're interested in looking up stuff just in the government or whatever. You can put .gov. That's a way of searching just within those extensions. .mil is military. K-12, if you're looking for something in schools, you can just search .K-12, and then there's country codes you can search within, but remember that you'll get that language of wherever you're searching. And those are found, you can find those on the open internet. Search engines, do you ever try any other search engines than just Google? And I truly do think, and that's good, what do you find?
Dogpile's kind of like a lot better, I think.
Which one?
Dogpile.
Dogpile, okay. I think Google, it's really, really commercial, and you'll have a lot better luck when you're actually researching and looking for information than possibly Google, because it's so commercialized now. But this gives you some other instances, and on your quiz I ask you to list a couple of other ones. It's good to kind of compare and contrast some different search engines and see what you get. Lycos is pretty academic, Google Scholar, a lot of you guys have done ask.com, that comes up. Webcrawler and Dogpile both are meta search engines. They search through a lot of search engines, not just one search engine. Yahoo is not a search engine, it's a directory of indexes, which I didn't know that until I took this class. Any questions about that, the search engines? Okay, tips for searching with a link, and this is the last part, and then we're pretty much done. Links can help you validate. So a few years ago, we were looking for information on Martin Luther King Jr., and we found this website, this girl and I, and we thought, oh, it looks good, a lot of good pictures, blah, 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 but the more we read, it was like suspect. And I'm trying to figure out how we found out who actually published that information. Well, the organization is called Stormfront.org. Still's around. Still, it's usually in the top 5 searches for Martin Luther King Jr. Last time I searched, it was still there. They are a neo-Nazi group. Okay? Very racist, and they still are in the top 5 searches. And last year in the peace essay, that was listed as one of a very biased organizations on the peace essay. There was information about them. So who is going to link Stormfront? Who is going to give links to their information? What types of groups or organizations or people? Yeah, that think how, though?
Think like that.
That think like them. So that's how links, and what you do, and write this down, link colon, it's on Alta Vista, link colon, and then you type the address. If the address is super long, truncate it. And it will give you who has linked that site. So on Stormfront, you could take a look and say, okay, who's thought they're important? Well, it's going to be other groups and individuals that think that same way. So that's a way of telling the biases. Did you guys get that all down? The links? Okay, so it's Alta Vista, link colon, and then type the address. It'll give you the backlinks. Forward links then can also, does the domain name change? You can see some stuff with the forward links. Do they even work? So if the links don't work, what does that mean, Morgan? If the links don't work, what do you think about that website?
It's not good. It's not a good website to use.
But what have they not done if the links don't work?
I haven't reviewed it.
And kept it up to date. Yeah. So forward links. So that's what you can do, is the information biased and then the backlinks. Any question about that? Examine the content. Is it credible, accurate? Images are not everything. Is it helpful? More resources and links. Do they work? Is it up to date? Is information correct? How much time do we have?
A minute.
Okay.
Not even a minute.
Validate 3 times your information on the open web. I want to quick show you. Ask about author. Make sure you check who is it. Can you find more information? I think we'll just maybe stop here because I want you to see my sources. So we'll have a little bit more to finish and then we'll do the quiz on Monday. And Dr. McGee's going to give you a little bit of time. You can do it in pairs because 2 brains is better than 1. And maybe even 3s. Oh, have you been working on it? Good, good. You're ahead of the game then. Any questions for me? Did anybody learn anything they did not know? Thank you guys so much. Thank you, thank you. Have a great weekend, you guys. Have a great weekend.